Yeah. I mean, I'm not angry like many of my Knicks fan friends seem to be, and co-Knicks fans like out there on talk radio and stuff, like demanding Julius Randle's head. Like, this Knicks team overachieved in my mind, and like, second round of the playoffs, I wasn't really expecting that. So like, I can't be pissed. But once the road was kind of clear, it was like, oh man, we get past that Heat team, and then like conference finals, anything can happen. Like, I didn't think they were winning any kind of titles or anything, but like, yeah, I'm with you. It would have been nice to have gotten to a conference finals for the first time in quite a while.
All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Sunday. It is Mother's Day. If you have not yet called your mom, that's okay. Just make sure to do so before the end of the day. Technically, we have until 11:59, but don't be that kid. Don't be that kid. Terry, how's it going here on this fine Sunday afternoon here?
That's going pretty well. Just been working on this slate since I woke up this morning a couple hours ago. Joker was just barking under the table here. I guess he's saying hi. Shout out to his mom, who's probably no longer with us out there in the world. Dogs don't live quite that long, but yeah, we're doing good. Jumping on the train after we're done here, going down to visit my mom, and we're having a BBQ down at the old house. I think Dad's making some shish kebab and all of that, so should be a fun day. Get some baseball in before that though.
Excellent.
How you doing in Florida digs?
It's actually nice down here. We've got some friends that live across town. One of them is going to come over and visit us today, so we'll hang out with them before they head back to the Pacific Northwest. May cruise down and go to the beach a little bit later. We shall see.
Nice. Catch the early bird special with the other seniors and kind of enjoy your snowbird lifestyle. Is that the plan?
Pretty much. My wife ran into so this is a condo, and it's relatively small. So she ran into somebody I had talked to on the phone already, who, funny enough, was actually, before they moved down here, 30 years ago, from Leesburg, Virginia. They still have kids up there, of all things. So he ran into my wife, and he's like, "Oh, are you the new renters up in whatever?" And I'm like, and she's like, "No, we're actually the owners." He's like, "Oh my God. I think we're the youngest people in the building." So
that's awesome.
Good times here. But we're gonna
love to have you though. It's like, people who like bought and they're gonna be invested, and they're young and they're full of energy and like passion for keeping the place nice and everything. Like, it's good for the community.
We'll see how that plays out. But in any event, we've got baseball to talk about today. Have a nice strong.
We all really know that you only just moved to Florida for the political influence, of course, for your upcoming campaign, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. And if I don't make it through the primaries, at least I can cast my vote in the right direction down here. So
yeah, there you go. Anyway, now that we've alienated the few people from Chad who are here on Mother's Day.
What? You can't vote for yourself? Come on.
Then make sure to go out there and buy the lineup generator, everybody. If you ever want to see this show again.
All right, so let's jump on in here. We've got 8 games on FanDuel, 9 on DraftKings. They are going to be utilizing.
Oh shit! Is it 9 on DraftKings?
I didn't. Washington and the New York Mets. It's going to be Max Scherzer going.
Apologies to anybody who read my article. I completely left that out.
Yeah, Irving is not in. Irving is starting, but we're not really going to want to consider him. They're starting at 12:35 right about now, resuming the game from yesterday, and then that's going to be mostly a bullpen game per the Mets, and then they're going to start Scherzer. Remember, Scherzer was scratched in his last start with a sore neck or neck spasm, something along those lines. So,
and it doesn't start till 4:35. Wow, what a garbage game to have included on that slate.
It's going to make it a long one. The PMR is going to be.
No wonder. I had no idea that was there. Apologies, DraftKings folks. We'll talk about that one. I won't have my numbers up for it, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So in any event, hit that like button. We're going to be in for a wild ride today. But let's start out. There's only one weather spot. It is in Chicago. It does look like there will be rain there throughout the day. If it comes in playable windows, we shall see. It looks like maybe if they hold off until around 5 o'clock, it'll mostly that looks like the nearest 2-hour window. The challenge for that is it's Lucas Giolito and Hunter Brown, two pitchers I'm interested in. So I think we're going to cross that one off the board. But let's talk about the ones we are going to be playing here. Terry, we've got the Pirates in Baltimore taking on the Orioles. Mitch Keller and his increased strikeout rate this season going against Kyle Gibson and his typical pedestrian strikeout rate. But of course, Gibson always good at mostly limiting runs. It does allow the stray home run here or there, but it's usually with the bases clean. I like Gibson as the secondary pitching option here. DraftKings only, not enough strikeouts to stand alone on FanDuel. What are you seeing from our first game here?
Yeah, the Gibson play, I agree, wouldn't really stand up that well on the FanDuel slate, I don't think. I do get a decent projection from him, and we just did see this Pirates team. Like, they looked good to me yesterday going up against Wells. I was liking some of the left-handed bats, and I thought there was some power potential, and they just kind of zeroed out against him. So, like, you could get that kind of game against Gibson, and what he does give you is some innings. So, on the idea of maybe the quality start performance on a weakish kind of a pitching slate, like we were talking about it before the show, if you lose Giolito and Hunter Brown off this pitching slate, it gets really ugly. So I actually do think Gibby's somewhat viable at 8,000 on FanDuel, just on the back of maybe he gives you 6 clean innings in a quality start against a fairly low end Pirates team, finds 2 or 3 strikeouts for you along the way. It's not going to be a good score, but I think it could be like an effective-ish kind of a score. He's not a high-end pitcher, don't get me wrong. 15.9% strikeouts for the year in 47 innings, 8 starts, 4.40 ERA, 4.59 xFIP. He's an innings eater. It's a decent number of innings for 8 starts, but I don't think there's a lot on the bone there. I do prefer the Keller side of it. 9,600, 10-8, we're paying full freight for Mitch Keller, and now we're kind of like, we missed when he was a bargain in this breakout that he's having that we've been chasing for 5-6 years now. If you didn't roster him to this point, now you're paying full price for him, and now's probably when he's going to completely implode on us, because we are, right? But he's having a great year. 27.6% strikeout rate, 10.5% swinging strike rate, and a 29.6% CSW. You really like to see that. That's what's supporting the increased strikeout rate. That's up from 8.7% swinging and 25.8% called strike CSW percentage last year, 8.2% and 24.4% the year before. So he's getting more swinging strikes and more called strikes. That's coming together in that CSW percentage bump. So that's a really nice thing to see for him. 1.97% home run rate allowed, 27.3% hard hit rate against. So he's really been good for premium contact against. So everything to like about Keller here. He's going up against a good lineup though, but it's a strange version of this lineup. You don't have Adley Rutschman today. You have Gunnar Henderson, who's been just absolutely scuffling along, hitting third today. No Jorge Mateo as well. So you've got Joey Ortiz down in the bottom of the lineup, James McCann in this lineup, Kyle Stowers. I like 1 through 4 a little bit, and 6 Austin Hayes in the Orioles lineup, but it's a weakish end version of the Orioles lineup. So that supports a little bit of a bump to Keller as well here.
All right, let's see.
Are you rostering some Pirates? I'm kind of maybe taking the dive again with at least like the top 5. I like the idea of Andrew McCutchen leading off and Hayes hitting 5th. And I like the power potential in there still for the lefties.
So I've built out my lineups already because we actually had all the lineups out, and I am basically mirroring the field. I'm coming in under on McCutchen, a tick under on Brian Reynolds. So that's 3% and 5% on DK. Okay. It's about half. The rest of them are coming in the same. Nobody's over 3% owned, but it looks like I do have a few concentrated in some stacks here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I like them maybe a little bit more than that if I get the chance to swing my lineups the way I want to. Like, I'm getting not great, but decent mid-range home run ratings in my home run model on McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, Carlos Santana, who has been scuffling along and only has 2 home runs so far this season, and Jack Sawinski, who has 7 home runs and a nice power bat in the middle there, 19.4% barrel rate, 46.8% hard hit. And then I'll play some Brian Hayes. He's sitting at 234, 300, 345 with a 110 ISO and a 77 WRC plus. I just think that he should be a better hitter than this. And it's been true through most of his career. Like, he has not produced well for his career. Only 7 home runs at 244, 314, 345 last year, 88 WRC plus. But he's got a 46.8% hard hit rate. He's striking out at a 13.8% clip, which means everything's put in play. Everything's hit hard. I believe there's a better hitter in here. 4,100, 2,800, I'll continue to take shots, at least in stacks. Like, I'm not advocating the one-off necessarily because there hasn't been power there, but in stacks, I think he's a good fifth man, a good, like, rotation piece in Pirate stacks.
All right. Flipping it over to the batters of Birdland. I'm getting a few more of them today. Keller he's an okay pitcher. Typically the answer is not a lot of strikeouts. He's got a few more this year, still a small sample size. For me, it's kind of a function of salary. Gunnar Henderson is just 3,400 on DK. Adam Frazier, hey, I think didn't he play for the Pirates at some point? Yeah, a little revenge in his heart. Yeah, 2,800 for him. But the crown jewel, of course, Cedric Mullins. He homered, or he hit for the cycle. I think he got it on a homer on Friday. So he is one of my more rostered hitters, but just at 10%. So I'm coming in less than the field here. The other Orioles, I'm coming in over on all of them because I'm stacking. Whereas I think Cedric Mullins is probably coming in more as a one-off or in the 2, 3, and 4-man stacks, and I'm doing mostly 5-man stacks today here. What do you like from this side of the game?
Yeah, so I ran through it a little bit, just touching on how there was a bump to Keller for some of the absences with Rutschman and Mateo out of the lineup. But I do agree. I really like Cedric Mullins just in, everything that he does. He was a 30-30 guy 2 years ago, 16-34 last year. The hits for gets on base, gets involved, 129 WRC plus this year, a 204 ISO, 5 homers, 12 stolen bases. So I like him. Santander's gotten his season in order. Now he's got an 11% barrel rate, 53% hard hit. He's up to 5 home runs. He's slashing 254, 321, 449 now with a 196 ISO, and the run creation's back above average, 111 WRC plus. He had been kind of struggling for a little while. He's only 3.6% owned on DK, 2.6% on FanDuel. Kind of think that's a mistake. Maybe you can grab some Santander if you're going to Orioles and bump him up a little bit. I really like Henderson, or the idea of Gunnar Henderson anyway, but he's scuffling 175, 341, 340. The on-base percentage and his walk rate are keeping him alive right now, but he's below average, 97 WRC plus for run creation. Just hasn't hit, but he will hit. When he does make contact, 10.6% barrels, 45.5% hard hit. Those are good numbers, so that supports the idea of this kid, coming around in short order. So he'll start hitting very soon. Ryan Mountcastle's also low owned, 4,500, 3,200 for a guy, 8 home runs so far this year, but a 17.1% barrel rate, 48.1% hard hit. That's a hitter I want to have in my lineups. 220 ISO, 104 WRC plus. He's walking at a 4% clip. Like, he's got weird numbers, bad BABIP, 4% walk rate. So it impacts his run creation. It impacts some of what he does overall, but he's a very, very good power bat. So I'll always get to Ryan Mountcastle. A little bit of a ding for right-handed power in this ballpark these days with those changes they made last year, but he's still a very, very good option. And if you get the bad version of Keller, it could go very nicely.
All right, let's move on to the next game. It is your New York Yankees hosting the Tampa Bay Rays. You've got Zach Eflin on the mound here for Tampa Bay. Clark Schmidt on the other side. Apologies to my friends who are Yankees fans, because I am going with the lefties against Clark. You will be able to defend Clark here. He's coming off 2 good starts, but one of them was against the Athletics, so I'm just counting that one. He did have a nice one against Cleveland prior to that, but I still think we can get to him with some lefties here. He does have a bit of an elevated walk rate as well. You're getting Josh Lowe promoted up from the back end of the order. I think if I remember correctly, he was batting 5th. I had to go double check that because I thought it was his brother. His brother's batting 3rd. That would be Brandon Lowe. Then you've got Luke Raley, who has a lot of good power there. Switch hitter Wander Franco. I think that's pretty good. And did you know 31-year-old Yandy Diaz leads the league with 32 runs and a 425 on base percentage?
He's so good.
Pretty solid.
Good. He was good last year, right? We didn't talk about him enough last year. He wasn't a major power hitter, but he had a 146 WRC plus in 558 plate appearances, /296, 401, 423 in this lineup. He kind of went under the radar last year with that performance, and he's just been outrageous this year. Everybody in this lineup has been outrageous this year, though. Like, there is not one hitter. Our guy Brendan Lau has slipped below average to a 96 WRC plus. That'll turn around in short order, but outside of Lau at that mark, we're averaging a 152 WRC plus. So on the average, they're 52% better than league average for run creation. The average ISO in this lineup current year is 268 right now. That's bananas. A 200 ISO is a very good power hitter. 268 as an average for the team. And we're talking about a top end that is everybody over 100 plate appearances. Many of these guys, over like 130 at this point, some in the 150s and 60s. Those are the guys you would expect to have these ISOs. But some of the guys on the back end and some of the guys who are having like exceptional power years that you weren't expecting are kind of doing it over a growing, let's say, sample. Like Taylor Walls has a 261 ISO over 106 plate appearances now, 6 home runs. That's a big surprise. And it's something like you see that in baseball from time to time, but that is now an extended hot streak. So, maybe something changed in the power profile. I haven't really looked at what he's done with his swing plane or anything like that, but I think I think there are so many interesting bats up and down this lineup, and they're so dynamic. There are 3 players with multi-position eligibility on FanDuel. Everybody's a little bit pricey for who they probably really are, but they're doing so well, you can definitely roster Rays up and down the lineup, and you can put them together in a lot of different combinations. So 1 through 9, you can play that team. Christian Bethancourt is a very interesting catcher at 3,600 on the DK slate. Excellent contact profile, 16.4% barrels, 55.7% hard hit rate. I do like Clark Schmidt though. So I want to make that, I do want to throw that out there. 7,000.
Yeah, I was just going to hand you the
DK.
baton. Sorry, just going to hand you the baton on that one. Go ahead and walk through him, and then any of the Yankees hitters you like, because I know there is definitely merit to Clark Schmidt for sure.
Yeah, so he grades out really nicely by Stuff Plus metrics. Like he's got 3 pitches that grade out really nicely by Stuff Plus, which really likes him. 26.2% strikeout rate in his 35 and a third innings this year. He's challenged a little bit by Aaron Boone's approach to just managing. He's got a really quick hook with him. He's only pitched in the 6th inning twice this year. He went 6 full last start. Came out, I think, after 5 2/3 in one other start, but he's had a lot of quick hooks. So his ERA is sitting at 5.35. His xFIP is 3.76 for the year, but he has given up a decent amount of hard hits and contact, right? That's the thing we've got to avoid. That's not a good mix with a team who is, like I said, averaging like a 250 whatever ISO. 12% barrel rate on the year, 50% hard hit rate, 92.3 average exit velo, and a 4.88 home run rate. Those are not good power marks. So we've got to fade some power, but he's low owned. There is strikeout upside, lower owned on DK at 7,000, which is odd. That's a good SP2 play on DK. He's 17% owned on the FanDuel slate at 7,800, which is kind of surprising, but that is a good price for FanDuel. So I think I like him better as an SP2 at ownership and value on DK. But I do think there's upside there, but it's a firm both sides play with probably expectations coming down more on the Rays side of things. I also like Eflin, but he's expensive.
And then when it comes to your Yankees here hitting, how are you feeling about leading off? You got Jacob Bowers. People were asking is he going to be a pinch hit risk? I would say potentially. Doesn't have a long track record in the majors against lefties. You've got Aaron Judge. You got Anthony Rizzo, who hit 2 home runs on his bobblehead day there, Terry.
He was my home run pick that day.
Because of the bobblehead. I know you love narratives.
Naturally, but I was definitely aware that it was so bobblehead day. And yes, that comes up in my model every time.
How are you feeling about the pinstripes?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Yanks, when Aaron Judge is back in the lineup, they're always in play. They've also got Harrison Bader back in the lineup, and he's been, involved in everything since coming back. He's got 3 home runs and 41 plate appearances, playing above his head, but he's another good bat with some speed in the lineup. So they're a little bit more effective. Jake Bowers is interesting. I liked him better. I like him better hitting in this leadoff spot. It's a really interesting wrinkle. He's min priced. When he was hitting later in the lineup, I wasn't quite as interested. So 286, 2 home runs already on the season in just 25 plate appearances. I don't know that there's pinch hit risk. They haven't done that in the other games that I can remember. He's got 25 plate appearances and he's only made a couple of starts. So I wouldn't really sweat that here. I guess it's possible, but who are you really bringing in for him? Like there's nobody on the Yankees bench that is going to come in for him. That's going to be a better option. Like you're not going to pinch hit Aaron Hicks. Nobody springs to mind anyway. If you have it in chat, throw it out there and I'll consider it. But like, yeah, so I think Bowers is secure in that spot. Let's put it that way. Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, DJ LeMahieu, Harrison Bader, Willie Calhoun. Willie, 6 hitter, 2,400, 2,300. Meh. Former top prospect, 2 home runs on the season. You could maybe squeeze something out of that, but there's not much to like there. Anthony Volpe's come to life a little bit, 4,500, 2,900 at shortstop, hitting 7th. I kind of like that, but I think he's more engaging when he's a leadoff hitter and can correlate better with like Judge, Rizzo, LeMahieu. So bump to the top end with Bader up there, or with Bowers up there rather. Probably 1 through 5 with 7, and maybe sprinkling some Willie Calhoun. Trevino and Cabrera are kind of flat spots at the bottom of the lineup.
I hadn't realized that Bowers was essentially banished to AAA all of last year between Cincinnati and the Yankees.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I
remember he was with Cleveland and the Mariners. But
yeah, I remember him. I remembered him more from Cleveland.
There was a big hole in his gap, so I had to go call up the Baseball Reference. He played about 62 games and 250, we'll call it, plate appearances there in AAA. That was his only action last year. I tried to find anything about an injury, didn't really see anything. So, in any event, intriguing. Yeah. I see T-Bird asking, is Eflin good or does he suck? Depends on the matchup. Good. He's good, but he's not a true frontline starter, but he's above average for sure.
Yeah, he's like a 3 starter, in a good rotation. He'd be like your 3rd guy, and you'd be fairly happy about it, I think. Smallish samples over the last 2 years, but effective numbers: 20.8% strikeout rate, 3.81 xFIP, and a 4.04 ERA in 75 2/3, 13 starts last year. 18 starts, 105 2/3, better, 22.4% strikeout rate, 4.17 ERA, 3.61 xFIP. That year, he's always been, pretty good at limiting power, like mid-range power numbers: 3.39% home run rate, 2.56 the last 2 years. Very good at limiting hard hits last year, which helps that 31.1% hard hit in a fairly small sample. But very good at limiting walks: 3.6% walk rate 2 years ago, 4.8% last year, and only 3% this year. So that really helps drive his whip, keeps guys off base, limits opportunities against, and he's bumped up strikeouts this year: 25.9% strikeout over 34 innings, 6 starts, 12% swinging strike rate, 31.4% CSW, throwing a lot more strikes this year. So I actually like Eflin a decent amount. His price is up a little bit. Like he would be better if he was kind of sneaky for price too, but he's low owned. 9,200, he's 1% owned on DK, 2.7% owned, 9,900 on FanDuel. I'll have more of them than that. I would have more than that on both sites. A lot of strikeouts in this Yankees lineup, so you can definitely chase that. Bowers at the top is another big strikeout option, strikeout bat. He might get into one. He smashed one to the no man's land in left center field for a home run the other day. But yeah, there's a lot of strikeouts there too. So I kind of like the upside for Eflin.
All righty, we've got let's see, about almost 500 loyal followers here. Let's get 100 likes, and we will get Terry to throw out a home run option off of his model. In the meantime, I want to let everybody know that we are sponsored by So Rare. You guys will want to check them out. They have a digital trading card game that is based on NFTs. It's free to play, and it's on the blockchain that would be on the non-fungible token game, the NFT. Ethereum blockchain is where it is located. You guys can get draw free cards each day, and you can also get a free limited card after completing your first 5 card purchases on the primary market. So that means if you go through our link here, you will be tagged as someone that once you purchase 5 cards on the primary market, you will get to select your own limited card after that. So check that out. That is So Rare. It's a lot of fun. Your digital trading cards do earn experience points when you enter them into competitions, which makes them more powerful. So keep that in mind. You're competing with rewards with other fans around the world. You can buy, sell, trade, collect your favorite cards, do whatever you want. It's So Rare. Have some fun there. They're wrapping up their basketball season, but they do have baseball in play. All right, Terry, next game looks like some decent offense here. Well, at least if you're a fan of Atlanta, going against Yusei Kikuchi. On the other side, we have Colin McHugh, who is an adequate pitcher, but he's going against the Blue Jays. Looks like more of an offensive situation here for both sides. What is your read on this game? And let's make up some ground. Run us through these teams.
Yeah, we can leave both pitchers aside. In my opinion, I wouldn't tell anybody they were completely making a mistake if they were telling me that, Kikuchi's got strikeout upside against a free swinging Braves team, yada, yada, yada. I chased this guy for the power against 46.8% hard hit rate, 5.23% home run rate, 92.2 mile an hour average exit velo against this Braves team. Yeah, they're a free swinging bunch, but a lot of home run power in this Braves lineup. So I like getting to them, even with Sean Murphy on the bench for Travis d'Arnaud today. D'Arnaud's got a nice bat as a catcher as well. So you can go Braves. They've got Ozzy Albies, one of my favorite players who's never popular. He's getting a little bit of attention because he's hitting third today at a very good price, but later in the lineup, he's never, ever popular. So you can go to Ozzy Albies even with a little bit of popularity. Matt Olson is dramatically under-owned because there's a lefty on the mound, which is just absurd. He's never lost much quality against lefties. He's got 220-something ISO against lefties for his career. Great for run creation. So there's no reason to skip Olson against a good lefty, let alone against this lefty. Major power upside, nice home run mark in my model. Acuna, Olson, Albies, Riley, great stack right there. Riley's been struggling this year, but absolutely I'll mash the Riley button, and he's cheap because of it. Only 6 home runs, a 153 ISO so far from Riley. He's a major power hitter going against this pitcher. I love that spot. Marcelo Ozuna, Kevin Pillar, not great on the back end. Ozuna's got plenty of power when he does connect, struggling other than his 7 home runs, hasn't done much. Pillar and Orlando Arcia are more here for defense. Arcia's got a decent bat. The guy I like in the bottom of the lineup is Michael Harris, last year's NL Rookie of the Year, 19 home runs, 20 stolen bases last year. You can always go to Michael Harris. He's missed most of the season so far. Looks like he's going to be a little bit sneaky on this slate, so I like it even better based on that. That said, you can also go to the Blue Jays side. I like offense in both sides on this one. McHugh's going to be in there as an opener today, and then it's going into the Atlanta bullpen. You might get 2-3 innings out of McHugh. He's that kind of a guy. Like, he's a long relief type. He's been a hybrid starter in his career, made a few normal starts in his career, but he's been mostly a reliever, all relief last year, all relief so far this year. And he hasn't been himself so far this year. 13.8% strikeout rate, a 3.38 ERA, but a 5.21 xFIP, 90.7 miles an hour of average exit velo allowed. So a little concerned about the McHugh spot, see how long he lasts, but a lot of contact may be available. George Springer struggling at the top of the Toronto lineup, but don't really care. He's got a long track record, and I have faith. He's very cheap, which I like because of the struggles. Bo Bichette, Vladdy Guerrero, roster any day you go to the Blue Jays. Dalton Varsho hasn't been great, but lefty, very cheap, 4,200, 3,000 with the power that we saw from him last year with 27 home runs. Matt Chapman has cooled off, still a little bit pricey, but I really believe in the bat over the long term, and he could start a new hot streak at any time. The numbers are still great across the board. Whit Merrifield, man, Danny Jansen is all right as a catcher, cheap catcher bat where you need catchers on DK. Santiago Espinal is in the 9 spot, but I really like Brandon Belt, is sneaky, 2,200. You don't want to roster him necessarily instead of Vlad Guerrero if you're going to this team all that many times, but at 2,200, like, it's an interesting enough pivot where you can put 2 first basemen in your lineup on FanDuel for 2,500. I think Belt is super interesting. 2 home runs on the year in 92 plate appearances, but a 14.3% barrel rate, 45.2% hard hit from a guy who hit 29 home runs in 381 plate appearances 2 years ago is very interesting. Was that fast enough for you?
That worked out pretty well there. And we've gained some time.
Shop at Crazy Eddie's and buy micro machines.
Yeah, chat doesn't want to get your home run pick, so that's okay. We'll continue on here. It almost feels like without these likes, I may have to mention that we do have the MLB lineup generator. We're going to do a little demo for that in a moment, but for everybody,
buy it, people.
50% off your first week. Use promo code baseball for all. That is baseball, the number 4 all. Check that out. It is a lot of fun. We'll talk about it in just a moment, but basically you can decide what types of stacks you want to go with. On DraftKings, you can go 5-3, 4-4, or 5 open. On FanDuel, you can go 4-4, 4-3, or 4 open. A lot of fun over there. You can decide if you want chalky builds, contrarian builds. You can determine if you want to lock in certain players, and it's very, very good. The other nice thing is this is building nothing but positive expected value lineups. The other thing that's also very nice is even when you pick the chalky builds, it's still putting in some of the better plays to make sure you have a plus EV lineup. So it's putting in 2 or 3 2% owned hitters. It's either using them as the discount dandies that you're going to need, or it's taking some of the lower owned players out of stacks. So it's a lot of fun. I was playing around that with this for about 45 minutes this morning. It's pretty cool tool. You can save your up to 20 lineups in a holding pen. When you've got up to 20, you can discard them, or you can download them, upload them into your DFS site of choice. course, make sure you're using the right format for FanDuel or for DraftKings, but those are very helpful. You can even edit your lineups that are there. You can decide, oh my gosh, I ended up with too much Louis Varland today. He's coming in on almost all my lineups. I'm going to cut out a few of those lineups and then lock or get rid of him and lock in somebody else, make a few lineups and put them in. It's the best thing you can do besides having an optimizer, and it's a fraction of the cost. So check that out. The promo code baseball for all, that's the number 4, baseball for all. You get half off your first week. That is going to be for less than $5 for your first week. Check it out. All right, Terry,
it's not baseball for all, like all one word.
Baseball for
like we're having a baseball for all.
Baseball for all.
Just sounds like a
ball for all.
Baseball
we're gonna have. Never mind. We're not going to sing songs.
The third annual baseball for all.
Yes. Are you ready for the Reds and Marlins, for Luke Weaver going against Braxton Garrett? Braxton Garrett has moments now and then. Horrible expected ERA. Luke Weaver, just horrible in general. We've seen him be bad for multiple teams now. He has 8 home runs given up already this season in something like 22 innings. Attack. This is a good one to attack. Both sides, offense on both sides. I wouldn't, lose my mind if I ended up with Weaver I have him on 1.2%. I don't know which lineup he's on of the 200 I made today, but he's on one of them somewhere. Or I guess that's at 1.2%, 1.3%. He's on 2 of them somewhere, but there he is. But I'm okay with Braxton Garrett in this particular matchup, but I'm definitely going both sides on this one. I made a concerted effort to stack the lefties against each of these pitchers. What do you got from this game, Terry? And is there anything worth mentioning on the pitchers?
Yeah, I don't think you're completely crazy on either one of these pitchers, to be quite honest. I think there's talent on both sides in terms of strikeout upside. Weaver, obviously the lower end of the two in terms of the results, but he's been a 20-ish% strikeout guy going up against the Miami Marlins in Miami. It's not a very good lineup. It's a pitcher's park. He's had 2 games this season in his 4 starts where he gave up 3 home runs and 1 game where he gave up 2 home runs. The 2 games where he gave up 3 home runs were both in Cincinnati's silly bandbox stadium, so maybe we discount that a little bit, but there's been a ton of premium contact. 16.4% barrel rate, 52.2% hard hits, 92.2 mile an hour average exit velo, and an 8.33% home run rate. Like you said, that's something you can absolutely chase. I've got a little bit of belief that there's talent here in Weaver, so maybe find a few strikeouts for 6,800, 6,900. That said, he's getting a little bit more ownership than I thought he would, so I don't know that I love the play. But you can throw pitchers at this weak Marlins lineup. Same thing with the Reds. You can throw pitchers at this weak Reds lineup, and I think Braxton Garrett is the better of these 2 pitchers. 24.1% strikeout rate in 88 innings last year, 17 starts, 19.3% this year, but he doesn't really walk hitters. 4.1% walk rate, a 3.79 xFIP hiding under his ugly 5.97 ERA. He's just given up a lot of hard hits and power so far this year as well. 4.14% home run rate, 92 mile an hour average exit velo, 49.1% hard hits. So I do think you take bats on both sides. I think you can get away with pitchers on both sides, but they're both drawing value-based ownership. So I don't love the pitching as much as I would like in a vacuum of just like, I can pick whoever value I want, nobody else has them. Then I would be drawn to these guys, but they're getting like appropriate-ish ownership for how much value they might give you. It's pretty thin. The bats are probably going to come through, but it is weak lineups on both sides. Like Jonathan India is probably the best player on the Reds, which is their team without a star. Jazz Chisholm Jr. is not in the lineup for the Marlins, which is another bump to potential for Weaver. They do have Luis Arias, who is now down to 379 batting average, but he was hitting over 400 a week ago. So he's been slumping a little bit for him. Great hit tool, but not a lot of power. John Birdie, Garrett Cooper in the leadoff spots. Jorge Soler hits cleanup for this team, and then you got Brian De La Cruz, Gene Segura, who's struggling badly, Peyton Burdick, Nick Fortes, Garrett Hampson. Like, that is not a good lineup in a pitcher's park. There's something to be said for Weaver, and I would downgrade the Marlins for lack of Jazz Chisholm. The Reds are just not good, but India, Senzel, Steer, Stevenson, maybe some Fairchild. Stevenson has been okay, but 2 home runs this year, 6 last year in 183, 10 2 years ago in 402. You're not getting a lot from him in terms of a cleanup hitter. Fairchild is cheap, and there's the idea of contact. 9.5% barrel rate last year with 5 home runs in 110 plate appearances. Maybe you get a little bit out of him in the 5th spot, but it is not a good lineup there either. So I don't love any one side of this, but I think all 4 sides are somewhat playable.
All right. Chat did get us to 100 likes. Who is at the top of your home run model today?
at the top of the home run model.
Just number
Let's
one,
see.
because we're needing another 50 for the second player.
Well, okay, I was going to buy a second and do it the other way around.
Well,
The very top of the home run model today is Mr. Sal Perez from the Kansas City Royals, who we'll talk about. I am drawing a lot of power in the model against Colin Ray there. My home run pick was actually from that team as well. It was the big lefty in the lineup.
All right. Well, let's
I won't say which one though.
We're almost at that game. So let's talk about the Mariners and Tigers first. Logan Gilbert gets the lucky start going against the Detroit Tigers, who have a 77 WRC plus since the beginning of last season. Weighted runs created plus is an advanced metric that neutralizes variables such as park factor, creating a league-wide scoring efficiency baseline of 100. This means they are creating runs 23% less efficiently than the rest of the league, and basically 2 full standard deviations behind the Mets and Dodgers when using those same parameters. That means we want to start Logan Gilbert. He has an 11.2 strikeout per 9 innings this rate, which is well above last year's 8.4 rate and his career average of 9.2. Today will be his 64th career start. He has been very economical with his pitches, 15.5 per innings. He also has 26 quality starts in those 63 chances. That makes him a very fine play over there on the blue side. That would be FanDuel, which gives you bonus points for the quality start. Anything else you want to add on Gilbert, and is Wentz potentially a sneaky SB2? On the other side.
Gilbert's an absolute smash. Everything he said is dead on. He has made a major leap this year. He's taken he had a 10.8% swinging strike rate last year. He was 12.5% the year before that. He's at 10.7% this year, but both of the last 2 years, he's been at a 25% CSW, and he's jumped up to 28.1% this year. And it's taken his strikeout rate from 22.7% last year, 25.4% the year before, to 31.4% in a small 40 and a third inning 7-start sample. That's a big jump. And his CSW has gone up to 28.1%, which just means he is purely throwing 3 percentage points more called strikes this year, which means his stuff has been more effective. He's got a 2.86 xFIP, a 0.99 whip. He walks 5% this year, which is sustained over time. So he's good at limiting opportunities against just very good right-handed pitcher going up against a team that is very bad in general and very bad against right-handed pitching. I have no love for Joey Wentz whatsoever. 18.8% strikeout rate, 5.04 xFIP in his 7 starts this year. A lot of power allowed. I like the Mariners side of this one. A lot of good right-handed power bats. I like JP Crawford in the leadoff role for this team as well. 379 on base this year, 116 WRC plus from late in the lineup. Curious to see how that on base holds up and what his one weighted runs created looks like in a couple of weeks if it does, hitting ahead of Ty France, Julio Rodriguez. Eugenio Suarez is having a really weird year, only 3 home runs this year, 0.095 ISO, which is way off for him. Still hitting cleanup. He's nice and cheap for it. Tommy Murphy, Teoscar Hernandez, Jose Caballero, AJ Pollock, Sam Haggerty at the bottom of the lineup isn't great, but I think there's enough at the top of the Seattle lineup here to justify some stacks, at least of 1 through 6.
Do you want any part of an insurance stack going against a heavily owned Logan Gilbert? Is there
Not really
enough to have an insurance stack? There's really one.
I don't think so. You've got 3 hitters in the lineup with above average weighted runs created. One of them is Andy Ibanez, who we know is not good and has made 42 plate appearances, so we won't count his 113. Riley Green is exactly at league average, and he hasn't been good at all, over 161 plate appearances, 3 home runs, 5 steals, 268, 323, 389 with a 121 ISO. You can have them. 99 plate appearances for Zach McKinstry, 2 homers, 5 steals, a 128 ISO, a 110 WRC plus. You can have him too. Javi Baez, Spencer Torkelson, Nick Maton. Who are we rostering from this team? Jake Rogers is a $2,400 catcher one-off. Maybe he's got 5 home runs on the year and 80 plate appearances, a 254 ISO. I'll shout him out as a $2,400 catcher on DK where you need the position, but he's hitting 9th, which is not great. So yeah, I don't like anybody from the Tigers in this matchup. I love Logan Gilbert here.
All right. 520 people watching. We're just 25 likes away from Terry's second home run call. That'll be at 150 likes. And we're going to, you're good with this game, right? We're ready to head on to the Royals.
Yeah.
Kansas City Royals in Milwaukee taking on the Brewers. You've got Jordan Lyles on the bump for Kansas City. On the other side, you have Colin Ray. For fun, I did a deeper dive here into Jordan Lyles here. Now, Lyles, now that he's no longer in Coors Field, he still led the league in home runs back in 2021, and he's atop the leaderboard this season as well. Although by my estimation, Terry, about half the leagues would be happy to have him on their roster simply to eat innings, because that is what he does best. He has allowed multiple home runs in 6 different starts. However, hardly ever does he have anyone on base. He doesn't strike out a ton, doesn't walk a lot either. Pitches to contact, and as a fly ball pitcher, some of them are going to go out of the ballpark. He's playing for warning track flies. I think this one we're doing a little more selective home run hitting with the I didn't pull up the lineup, but the Rowdy Tellez, Willie Adames, Christian Yelich would be the ones that I would look at. Do you remember Christian Yelich? 2018 MVP, finished second in 2019, won the batting titles both those years. Since then,
and had power.
Since then, a 244 career average in the 3 seasons since then.
So weird.
Just bizarre. But he's showing signs of life for real this time, it looks like. I believe he had a home run yesterday. We're back, baby. We're back.
I think he might have had 2 yesterday. If I remember correctly. But I've always still believed in Christian Yelich. Like, it's a launch angle thing. He just hits everything into the ground, but that's crept up a little bit. It's let me get to this game here. It has gotten over, what is it? There it is. His launch angle, his barrel rate has gotten back over the 8% mark. It's at 8.5%. But what I've always loved about Yelich is he still always hit the ball extremely hard. So as soon as he starts elevating it again, it starts going out of the ballpark again. 57.5% hard hit rate this year. He's up to 6 home runs now after 2 yesterday, 8 stolen bases on the year. A 152 ISO is meh, but a 105 WRC plus now after scuffling along. So I love Christian Yelich. He's getting a lot of attention. Jesse Winker hasn't done anything at the plate this year, but I still believe in his left-handed bat. He's hitting second. He's drawing a lot of ownership. He's cheap in this stack. Willie Adames, Rowdy Tellez, both also super popular here. And then the ownership kind of drops off in the second half of this lineup, somewhat justifiably. But like Owen Miller's having a nice little start to his season. He's a semi-productive hitter who can put the ball in play. He's better as a correlation piece, but he's multi-position eligible, 2,400, 2,600, 2 positions on DK, 3 positions on FanDuel. Victor Caratini is a very cheap catcher who does have power upside. 2 home runs and 48 plate appearances this year. He's been productive. He had 9 home runs and 314 plate appearances last year. He's not a major power hitter, don't get me wrong, but he can turn on the ball. 9.4% power rate, 62.5% hard hit in the small sample this year, and he's not drawing any kind of ownership attention. So I think you can get to some Caratini there. And I like Tyrone Taylor hitting 8 down here for 2,200, 2,500. Nice little power bat, hit 17 home runs, 405 plate appearances last year. So I think there's some sneakiness in the back end for the Brewers. Top end I like a lot, but it's super popular going up against Jordan Lyles, who is just absolutely, like you said, an innings eater and nothing more. Don't put him in your lineups for DFS purposes. I don't see any reason to whatsoever. They should beat up on him today. But I like the Royals just as much coming back the other way. They weren't showing as much in the run total in Vegas. But Colin Ray for me is a home run target, 90.3 miles an hour of average exit velo allowed so far, 4.50% home run rate, 19.8% strikeout rate. He's had a couple okay outings, but I think there's power upside to be had there. And I like the Royals bats. Bobby Witt has been a little bit below average, but he is a 20-30 guy last year. Vinny Pasquantino is a very good hitter. He's got 134 WRC plus this year, 224 ISO ahead of Sal Perez, who has a 237 ISO and a 133 WRC plus. 7 home runs for Pasquantino, 8 for Sal Perez. MJ Melendez has 4 home runs, a 161 ISO, and an 80 WRC plus. Seems like he's kind of bouncing along, but then you look over at his contact profile, 13.3% barrel rate, 57.8% hard hit rate from the left side against a guy who is going to allow a lot of contact to left-handed hitting. I like that spot a lot. I also think a lot of Nick Pratto, former first-round pick, first base and outfield eligible, 2,700, 3,300 across sites, 351, 431, 544 to start his season, over 65 plate appearances, 2 home runs on the board already. Like Nick Pratto a lot, would not leave him out of stacks. Michael Garcia, Dozier, Massey, and Nate Eaton, I could take or leave, mix and match type guys.
All right. If you guys have not watched the Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch, so rare bit for it's like 3.5, 4 minutes long. It's pretty funny. Does a nice job of explaining so rare, how they have the trading cards, how you can select different people. He makes some cases for himself, which is really funny as well. And it's fun. And we're sponsored by so
underrated hitter. I agree with him. He's got a good stick.
Yep. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, if you guys are looking for 30 free days of Stokastic Premium, you can always go to BetMGM. If you have not yet signed up, use the promo code PLATINUMSUB, all one word, or go through the link in the description here. When you sign up, once you make your first $10 wager, or you have to wager $10, it's easier just to do it all at once. As soon as that bet settles, win or lose, you're going to get a promo code from BetMGM that will get you 30 days of Stokastic Premium. Keep in mind, if your first bet loses, you'll get paid back in site credits equal to the amount of that first wager, up to $1,000. I did that one myself, lost it, got 5 $200 bet credits, and was able to claw back $700. And I've slowly worked my way back to even there. But I gave away it's very cool. Once you make your first bet, it pops up, gives you a promo code to get your 30 days of Stokastic. If you close it out, don't worry. They have a little inside inbox for you. It's going to be sitting there. I gave mine to one of our avid, loyal viewers here.
What a guy.
There you go. But you guys can get your own. And it's Mother's Day. You could get one for your mom. Your mom's going to say, "Oh, sweetie, I would prefer you have this promo code to Stokastic." It's something I won't get around to using. And look at that. All of a sudden, you got a gift that you gave your mom and she gave right back to you.
That is exactly what do.
Yeah, perfect.
With that and most other gifts.
Yeah, that or the hand molded clay fired ashtray, right? Since nobody smokes anymore. You guys probably didn't have to make those when you were in elementary school. We did. It was a long time ago. Back in the
what
dark
a weird
ages.
thing. Yeah, we literally made ashtrays in elementary school. It's so weird.
Good times.
Totally
good times. All right, we are 18 minutes away from lock. We've got 2 more FanDuel games. We've got the bonus DK game heading on over here to the Cubs and Twins. Marcus Stroman seeing a little bit more in the strikeout rate than we have recently. I'm going to say that's a small sample size because he has a long enough track record. We know what we're getting. A really solid pitcher, but one we don't want to use for DFS because he doesn't get enough strikeouts. And 2, someone hard to attack because he tends to get enough ground balls and keep the bases clean that he usually doesn't give up a lot of runs. On the other side, you have Louis Varland, who is coming in as one of the better pitchers today. 1, a lot of strikeout potential in his bats. 2, it's the Cubs. They have some power, but good God, between the Cubs and the Cardinals, I don't know what the hell's going on with the managers and ownership in the Midwest. Those are a couple storied franchises that are kind of in disaster recovery mode right now. But Louis Varland ended up being my top pitcher of the day. Ownership wise, I've got him at 50%. I have Gilbert at 48%. I just capped those guys and made some other lineups so I wouldn't have them paired everywhere. So I could get some differentiation there. But how are you liking Varland? I think you can go to Stroman on the afternoon slate as an SP2 if you'd like. But what is your breakdown of this game?
Yeah, so I do think Varland is interesting, but I don't love the ownership. I really like him at price on DK. Actually, 24% ownership at that price on DK is fine. That's probably a little bit low. 30% ownership at 8,400 on FanDuel is pushing it a little bit for me. There's been a lot of hard hit there. 5.63% home run rate, a 41.3% hard hit rate, 89.5 miles an hour of average exit velo, 13% barrel rate. Yeah, there's strikeout upside for sure. 28.2% strikeout rate in a small sample, 16 2/3 innings, 3 starts, 4.32 ERA, a 1.38 whip. So there's guys on base, walking 7%. But I do really like the stuff. 14.3% swinging strike rate, 31.3% CSW. There's a lot to like about Varland. 3 pitches to grade out as premium pitches by Stuff Plus metrics. So, really like the pitcher here, but I do think he's attackable. I do think you can roster Cubs against him. This is an all 4 sides game for me. I actually think Stroman is in play, particularly for 8,500 on DK at 4.2% ownership. going up against a very free swinging, very aggressive Twins team. He takes the power bats out of their hands completely. 2.4% barrel rate, 3.3 degree average launch angle this year, 1.61% home run rate so far. Sustained over time. Last year, 7 degree average launch angle. Year before, 6.3 degree average launch angle. Doesn't allow a lot of home runs. So he's very good at capping that. And he's finding strikeouts this year, 23.7% strikeout rate. The swinging strikes are up from 9.2 to 10.2%. CSW is actually down a little bit, but I think that's because he's dancing out of the zone a little bit more and throwing fewer called strikes. I haven't really looked at it, but that would be my speculative read on it. And he's just, like I said, he's very good at pitching deep into games, 47 and a third over 8 starts. He could chase a quality start. He could chase a win here. So I kind of like it on both sides. I think there's a little bit more on the bone for Stroman there. We've gone there and failed with him for DFS before. We've avoided him for a long time for that. But if he's finding a 23.4% strikeout rate against this team that could give you a few bonus strikeouts, I kind of like it. So I'm on both pitchers, but I'll be on bats as well on both sides. I like Chris Morel in the leadoff spot for the Cubbies. Everybody knows I love Dansby Swanson and Ian Happ in the middle of their lineup. You get no Cody Bellinger, but you have Seiya Suzuki hitting cleanup. You get Patrick Wisdom up to the 5 spot here. Somewhat sneaky Trey Mancini, somewhat sneaky Matt Mervis, who hasn't done anything since his big call up, but is now very cheap, 2,400, 2,300, and nobody's on him. So I kind of like that spot now. Very, very interesting prospect bat. Yan Gomes is a sneaky catcher for 3,000, 3,200, 6 home runs, a 257 ISO so far this year, 8 home runs in 293 plate appearances last year. So that's ridiculous power output for him in a small sample, but 14 home runs in 375 2 years ago. So there's a little bit of power upside for Gomes there. So I don't dislike that Cubs lineup. Similar story as we know with the Twins. There's tons of power like I just talked about. There's also tons of strikeouts. Love Joey Gallo in the leadoff spot. He should hit there every day. That would be a great spot for him to hit. 8 homers on the season. He's got his usual Joey Gallo warts, but he's also got a 360 ISO and destroys the ball when he connects. 23.1% barrel rate, 59.6% hard hit. Everybody knows I love Joey Gallo. Alex Kirilloff not striking out. Nice little power bat. Only 22 plate appearances so far, but still cheap in the 2 spot. Carlos Correa, watch this time next week. He's going to look a lot better in his triple slash. He's got a 200 ISO. He's got a 13.2% barrel rate, 44.3% hard hits on the year. Don't worry about the 276 at the front end. It's not going to matter very soon. Byron Buxton is still cheap at 5,400, 3,500 superstar. Don't need to sell him to you. Jorge Polanco, sneaky, not owned at all, 4,300, 2,800 across sites. Former 33 home runs 2 years ago with 11 stolen bases, and out to an okay start over his 87 plate appearances since coming back from injury. Larnach is fine. Farmer Gordon Vasquez at the bottom of it. Vasquez could turn on one and change a slate, but not a ton of upside there.
All right. One more game on the FanDuel slate. We've got the Houston Astros at White Sox. I have removed this game. I think there's going to be enough rain. I don't want to deal with it. That is going to be your last game on FanDuel. You can buy some time. You've got some pivots there with Varland and Stroman. If you're going to the pitchers, I would be going to these pitchers if I thought it was going to play for them unimpeded. Now, I don't know that the game is going to be postponed, but I don't want to get a 3-inning start because the rain comes in heavier or something happens with one of these pitchers. Am I afraid of weather? No, I played the Mets and Nationals yesterday, even though the Nationals are idiots when it comes to weather and annoying as hell. And they started that game and they could have kept it going and they chose not to resume it because they're the Nationals, right?
So at everything.
Weather is, it's what is your risk tolerance? And I'm never in this kind of a situation. You just say, all right, if your pitcher gets pulled, just think of it as my pitcher got shelled early and now he's out. Right. You just have to live with the variance in baseball. But for this one, I just didn't want to deal with it today. So I'm skipping it. But Terry, go ahead and analyze that one. I think it's really just both the pitchers. I think ownership of both is going to come down that it's really not that big of a deal to force in a leverage stack against the offenses. But then if the pitchers get pulled early because there's a delay, again, I don't think this will be postponed, but there's a delay, then now all of a sudden the hitters look better against the bullpen than they do against these above average pitchers. Talk to us about this game.
Yeah, half a second here. All right. Yeah. So Hunter, yeah, the weather's the real concern on the pitching front. You'll obviously love Giolito, and Hunter Brown's been a very good pitcher as a rookie so far this year. For Brown, 7 starts, 39 innings, 24.1% strikeouts, 3.80 xFIP, a nice 3.23 ERA. Had not given up a home run until his last start, despite 44.7% hard hits and a 90.6 mile an hour average exit velo, because he usually keeps the ball down, only a 5.4-degree average launch angle. So good likelihood that he suppresses White Sox power here. I do like this White Sox lineup despite their underperformance, and even without Eloy Jimenez in it. I do think there's, some interesting bats there. That said, Andrew Benintendi has been relegated to like a slap hitter who is underperforming even that role so far. Timmy Anderson not out to a hot start, even, including the time that he missed. No home runs, only 5 steals on the season, 76 WRC plus in 97 plate appearances. Andrew Vaughn, I like the power bat there, 11.13 in my home run model. Nice little home run mark. Joan Moncada back in the lineup here. I like adding him to this. Luis Robert has been tearing the cover off the ball for the most part this season, 13% barrel rate, 10 home runs on the year, 268 ISO, 134 WRC plus. You can absolutely go to him at low ownership. Gavin Sheets, Jake Berger have both been, pretty serviceable and are pretty cheap. 2,600, 2,900 on DK, 25, 29 on FanDuel. 4 home runs on the season for Sheets, 7 home runs in only 77 plate appearances, and a bit of a surprise for Jake Berger. Kind of a Brent Rooker-esque kind of a performance, but hey, that one's working out so far for people who go to it. I don't love it, but whatever. Hanser Alberto, Sebi Zavala, I don't really need much of at the bottom of the lineup. I think there's equal opportunity on both sides for like both pitchers could succeed if they get full opportunities to. Both lineups could succeed against these pitchers if they get full opportunities to. I think I prefer the White Sox against Hunter Brown than the Astros against Giolito in an all things considered kind of a format. That said, the 2 best hitters in this game are Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker, who are on the Astros. Outside of those 2 guys, a lot of these players are kind of scuffling along. Dubon's been meh in the leadoff role, below average at 89 WRC plus. Bregman's in an 87 WRC plus, hasn't shown a lot this year. Kind of concerned about him. Alvarez and Tucker are fine, although Tucker struggled for power at only a 168 ISO so far this season. And then you hit Jose Abreu, who hasn't hit a home run since last August and doesn't hit for average and doesn't create runs anymore. I don't know what's going on with Jose Abreu, but it's troubling. You have Yainer Diaz, David Hensley, Martin Maldonado at the bottom of the lineup. I love Chas McCormick, as everybody knows. He's hitting 7th. They should have him hitting 5th instead of Abreu today. That would be a better version of this lineup. Maybe go to some McCormick with Kyle Tucker and Jordan Alvarez as like a little 3-man stack there.
All right. You ready for the last one? I got this one. I got it.
You want to tackle it? I got to get some lineup.
Yeah, Terry's going to get his lineup.
I'll throw in some thoughts as you talk.
Okay, so Max Scherzer on the 3rd year of his $130 million contract. Oh, wait, no, he's only on his 2nd year. He's still got 1 more to go. So last year he got paid $43 million for 23 starts. That's $1.9 million per start. This year he's made just 5 starts. He got pulled early in the season. I can't remember what that was now. And then in his last start was scratched because of neck spasms. So he should be good to go today, but do know that around the All-Star break this year is when he turns 39. So Mad Max is kind of getting up there. Yes, he's going to give it his all when he's out there. I have 15% of him on DK today. He's not available on the FanDuel slate. I don't really want to take any of the Nationals against him because the Nationals offense is not really someone we want to look to, and there's not enough leverage to go against Scherzer. On the other side, you have Jake Irving taking the mound for Washington. I think you want to get several Mets bats out there. I think the lefties are fine. I think the righties are fine. I don't believe we have their lineup yet, but Irving is just a mediocre pitcher. You could go ahead and again, that game's not going to start till a little after 4. We won't get the lineup until their current game, that's the resumed game, is going on now, finishes. But you still have bailouts from the Cubs, the Twins, the Royals, the Brewers, etc. If you get a little jumpy, or if someone gets hurt, so they're not going to be in the second game. So just keep your eyes open on that one. But that's kind of the assessment there. Let's talk lineup generator. If I could get, I was going to
chime in. Did we sell the lineup generator yet?
Yeah,
I'm totally with you, by the way. Yeah, to me, I'd be a little bit more enthusiastic maybe about Max against that Nationals team. Outside of any injury concern or anything like that coming out of the game early, but that's a good spot for him. Premium pitcher and a really bad Nationals lineup. Don't need to roster any Nats against him, and you can fire away with Mets in that spot against that pitcher. That's a good spot for them.
All right, so producer Mike has the lineup generator up. I just dropped the link into the chat. The promo code is baseball, the number 4, all, baseball for all. You get 50% off your first week. That's going to make it just like $4. Check that out. It's like 50 cents a day, 60 cents a day. Well worth it, even if you're only playing a few bucks a day. And if you don't have an optimizer, this is the next best thing. And you don't have the headaches and have to figure out all the different settings, which is the main questions that we get as soon as somebody gets an optimizer. They say, hey, I just registered for 150. What am I supposed to do? It's 20 minutes till lock. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Or watch some of Neil's solo shows there where he is breaking down, or the MLB strategy show where he's breaking down how to use the optimizers and the settings. We have all sorts of ways to talk about that, but the live before locks make it really hard to describe that. But
some good old videos out there too. I think that pro video section is still up on the Stokastic site.
Yes.
So you can, some old videos I made probably still in there. Definitely some very good ones that Alex made over time. And you can apply things across sports with like how these optimizers function. Some of the concepts are the same, some of them are different. So pay attention to what we say, you know, where we're talking about like stacks for baseball doesn't apply for basketball, things like that, as a lot of people probably know. But a lot of the functionality of the optimizers and stuff when you get into Fantasy Cruncher or any of the other ones can kind of translate across between product lines as well.
All right, so we have this for FanDuel and DraftKings main slate. You guys have seen it for all the other sports now, so you know how it kind of works here. Let's click on DraftKings main slate. Here we can decide what types of stack types we want. Let's just take all stack types, but you can see you can go 4, 3, 4, 4, or 5, and then the next best number of hitters from 2 teams. The next one here is, do we want all lineups, chalky lineups, balanced lineups? This is baseball. Chalky lineups and baseball are entirely different than anything else. Let's go ahead and pick chalky lineups because this is a fun way to look at this. And then I'm going to put this on my larger screen so I can see it a little bit better, but go ahead and push that first one there. Oh, so here's where you can lock in your pitcher. So this is coming in from the top pitchers tool. So let's just let this fly for now. But if you say, oh, I want to use one of these pitchers or whatever, you click that, they're going to be in every lineup. Same thing with the hitters. That's coming from the top hitters tool. It's for those of you who are enterprising, say, oh, this is how I can get the top hitter and top pitchers tool without doing anything. Now it's just going to display the top 10. So when we've thought of that, and 2, we're on to you. So we'll go ahead and skip that, but let's go to build some lineups here. So we create the first lineup here, and what this is doing. Well, so Mike built out a bunch here, but what it does is you can ask for the number you want to build. You can build up to 20. This is an easier way to scroll through them. I was building them one at a time this morning because I was kind of interested in how they do, but he can look across these. To the right is going to be your player exposure for all of the players in this crunch. You can see that we have a lot of Louis Varland. Perhaps we don't want that much. What you can do is you can go into the lineups on the left, find some of those with Louis Varland, look at them and just say, hey, does this make sense? Is this one I want to keep? And as we scroll down, we may say, that feels a bit much. We can go ahead and hit discard. Now we can still add one more into our pen, right? So if we generate another lineup or get more lineups, you can hold up to 20 there. You don't like something, you discard it. You like something, you keep it over there, and that way it is going to be in your pen. Once you get to 20, you can download them, and they're going to come out into the CSV format with all the player numbers, player identification numbers that you need to upload those into your site of choice. Again, we have this for FanDuel and DraftKings right now, but this is a nice way to do it. And what I wanted to point out is, if Mike, if you could scroll up and down on some of those lineups, even though we chose chalky, you can look and see some of the players within those lineups, they're hitters that are less than 5% owned or 5% owned. That's going to make them unique. Now, it's an event-based sport. So here's a perfect example. I did not play Wilson Contreras I was in that DK Survivor Finals where Utica put all 63 of his lineups through. So we're playing in the Utica free GPP today. There's 128 of us and 62 lineups are his. 1-800 Eddie has 3. I've got 1. Steve's got 1. There's a couple other people with multiple, but there's half the field has 1 lineup in there. So in that game, I missed out and didn't play Wilson Contreras. He hit a home run. Oh my God, he was 50% owned. I'm lost, right? No, because the catcher I picked who was 7% owned hit a home run as well. So all of a sudden I made up that ground, right? So even if you have somebody low owned, it doesn't mean they're as contrarian as you think, but they're still pretty damn contrarian. So as long as you have a couple hitters that are 15% or less, you're going to be fine. You start getting in with some of these where you have 5% or less, and there's 2 or 3 of them, even in these chalky builds, it's not that chalky of a build. There are ways for your players to perform and have differentiation. Yes, if everybody hits a solo home run, they all get the same number of points, but you get strikeouts, outs, RBIs, doubles, whatever. There's going to be differentiation. And that's something that I think as we're coming out of basketball season, basketball, chalk and contrarian and unique, way different than baseball. So chalky is not really chalky by comparison here. Yes, any thoughts you want to add there on the lineup generator, and go through that link I dropped there?
I'm sure the lineup generator is fantastic. I just have all I heard is like a buzzing in my ears. My FanDuel upload failed with like a minute and a half to spare there, and I couldn't figure out why. I don't know whether it came from them or whether I fat fingered something at some point, but there were extra columns in my sheet. And it was telling me you have to upload somebody for every position. And I was like, holy shit, what's going on? I'd never seen that before. That was a new one, but we got them in. So a little bit of a fast heart rate right now. And like I said, didn't hear a word you just said for the last 5 minutes. But hopefully everybody enjoyed watching me completely panic as that was going on. But we're good. So we're coming back down now. And yeah, the lineup generator is a great thing I've always enjoyed just getting into the nuts and bolts of it, especially if you're only building like 1-5 lineups, whatever the case may be. If you're a hand builder, part of the fun of DFS for me has always been like, get in there, click guys into different spots in the lineup, see what you can do if you do this. Hey, if I sacrifice a little bit here, what can I gain through 2 other spots in my lineup? If I come down a little bit in pitcher and take a shot on a value pitcher, what can I gain in these 2 stacks? Or can I fit premium bats from this team and premium bats from that team together? And the lineup generator is a great way. It'll show you that. You can click through a lot of different stuff. It'll put up a lineup for you, and then you can click in and out of it and play with it. So it's a really good tool to use. And if you guys go support it, you might see us back next weekend on this show.
Indeed.
So that's another incentive.
Always fun.
Not to be too direct and to the point about it.
Always fun. Remember, these shows are free for you, but they're not free for everybody. So like our sponsors, buy our content. It's a lot of fun, and it's good, and it saves.
Otherwise, I got to go to Best Buy and get a microphone and a webcam.
Yeah, we don't want you to have to do that. But keep in mind,
YouTube
saving time, you can't buy time. This is the closest way you can get to it. Buying time and organization. It's the way to do it. That's why I subscribe to, the different sites and the different services, because I like to save time, especially via Stokastic. But with that, it is.
That's what I mean. That's like, no matter what, like I do all my own baseball projections and I use a lot of my own stuff for baseball, but I do go right to Stokastic for my ownership. There's no reason for me to try and figure out how to do ownership, because Stokastic is so on point and it's so damn good. The stuff that we have at the website is just absolutely killer, and it just makes total sense. Like you said, it saves time. When people say, I get tweets, I get messages in our Discord and everything like, Tyler, how do you build a baseball model? Don't do it. You're already paying for Stokastic. You're already paying for our stuff. Just use the stuff that we're putting on the website. Like, use the projections, use the ownership. It's so much better than anything you're going to create. It will save time. It's a good investment.
Yeah, my favorite though is back in the day, this was so much more, I do all my own research. It's like, well, you're probably doing it incorrectly. And 2, why? Why? I don't change the oil in my car because I'm going to go take it somewhere else. I don't cut my own hair. Someone else will do it for pretty cheap, right? We're doing the heavy lifting. We're saving time.
Yeah. And usually the next sentence after that, I do all my own research, was like, and in 20 plate appearances, he's got 3 home runs against this pitcher in his career. So that's how much that's worth.
But with that, it is Mother's Day. Call your moms. It's important.
Yeah, I got to catch a train.
And you know what, chat? Your mom. There we go. And tell your mom.
Say hi to your mom for EMac.
With that, we're going to get on out of here. Tune in 1 hour, actually 52 minutes. You're going to get the NBA live before lock as we get Game 7.
Are they still playing basketball?
Boston hosting Philadelphia.
Let's go Sixers.
Do we know any Sixers fans?
I don't know any Sixers fans, but we'll see. But it's the MVB. It's the MVB. But with that, gamers, you can follow Terry over on Twitter.
Did you see that what's-his-face didn't even have Jokic on his MVP card, by the way? Who the hell was that? One of the ESPN guys.
Like, it wasn't Skip Bayless. It was one of their noted names. I can't remember who it was.
That was so dumb. And I think he tweeted and apologized for it. I forget who it was. But Anyway.
In any event, follow Terry on Twitter
Good hang,
at
everybody.
DigitalB21.
I got a train to catch.
Find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck. Mark Jackson.
That's the one.